Hey everyone, it's Brett, the new LAC at Kunde Institute, starting with the community acupuncture program. I just wanted to come back to introduce a new concept, or maybe a familiar concept for some of you, um, kind of piggybacking off of our last video. And we'll be discussing the five elements in Chinese medicine, and specifically with this autumn season, we'll be discussing the metal element. So in Chinese medicine philosophy, there are teachings about the five elements and their correspondences. And at first, it can seem a little bit esoteric, but it's actually entirely based on observations and associations that we see in nature from the human perspective. So, aside from being a useful way to organize these concepts and observations, it's actually a very profound guideline for observing the world around us ourselves. And it tends to follow a scheme that we see in the calendar of the year as well. So in late spring and summer, we're coming out of winter, so things are starting to bloom and blossom. There's more light, there's more warmth, there's greens, there's fruits, there's vegetables, there's flowers, and we ourselves as humans, we become more open and adventurous. We become more curious and social. So we tend to kind of reflect what's going on in nature. And Chinese medicine observes this. Both it observes it in the nature around us, and it also observes this happening with our human behavior, our human nature. And so, for the part of the year that we're in, as we shift out of summer and go deeper and deeper into autumn, this is the harvest season. Everything's already come into fruition, and we're getting to a place of wanting to collect things together and start to turn inward as we prepare for a longer winter. Now, you have to keep in mind that these ideas were formed in a pre modern society that predates the Common Era. So, for us in our modern world, many of these concepts might seem a little bit outdated as so many things are available year round, but we still understand that certain things are seasonal naturally. And even the way we do things today might still conform to this idea of different seasons. Even if you live in California like we don't have as distinct and clear delineations of the four seasons, but we do still notice those changes. So in the autumn season, you can start to look at the lung, large intestine, the metal element here. Um, the kinds of diseases we see as medicine practitioners do conform to the observations of the metal element. This is diseases of the lung and the large intestine, diseases of the nose, the skin, the hair, dry type diseases, and psychoemotional diseases as well. So, common cold and influenza is very common, things that attack the lungs, dry skin, dry coughing, skin rashes with seasonal allergies. Those are also very common. Seasonal affective disorder or seasonal depression. It's that kind of sadness or the grief of the seasonal change as the green and the warmth and the light of summer starts to fade away. The leaves fall from the trees. It's like an impermanent death that nature goes through before resurrecting again in the spring. So every year we kind of grieve that loss a little bit. And it's really no coincidence that many cultures around the world have some sort of ghost day or Day of the Dead or ancestral veneration day sometime in the late summer and early autumn to reflect this not only in nature and our human behaviors, but also on a spiritual and a psychological level to give space to what needs to be processed in terms of our grief. And so, along with the five elements, there's also correspondences that you can see all throughout, even the day. You can see it on the level of the calendar year by season, but even in a single day, you can see it from the beginning of the day. We start to activate our lungs. We start to breathe more deeply and we get ready to wake up. That's the beginning of the cycle. Typically, people have a bowel movement in the morning. It's a time to be meditative and wakeful. And then we have our first meal of the day. We start to activate the spleen in the stomach. And then it kind of keeps going through the different meridians and the different organ systems. And we see this having a natural rhythm, but also if someone comes in with a certain condition, maybe that happens at a certain hour, we might be able to see that it has a tie-in to one of these organ systems or its meridian pathway. So it's just another way of observing the five element correspondences. And here they are again, kind of spelled out in a chart, which makes it a little bit easier to see. And then if we kind of hone in on the metal element, you have the lung and large intestine, which are the organs. The autumn season, the environmental factor is dry, which is why we see the dry cough and dry skin. And in terms of growth and development, both for an agricultural scheme or like looking at it from an agricultural lens, we have the reaping or the harvest. And in terms of human life, it's the old age. So it's getting to this place where we're about to come to the finality or come to the end. In terms of directions and times of the day, it's the dusk, it's the west where the sun sets, right? And we can see this mirroring happening even there. So if winter is the midnight, it's the darkest time of the night. Spring is the east where the sun rises, it's the morning. For people who are Christian, like the resurrection is there, and then the death is in the night, right? Or even like end of the day into the night. Many cultures reflect these same ideas, so we're all able to kind of see these, especially if we have cultures that developed around a solar calendar or a lunar calendar, something that helps us to mark time. The emotion for the metal element, as I've stated before, is the grief and the sorrow. The taste is pungent or spicy. If you have spicy food, sometimes our instinct is to, inhale quickly and try to cool ourselves down. So that kind of activates the lungs. The color of the metal element, we think it's white. The sound is sobbing or crying, and the odor is rotten. So when we contemplate these ideas from a physical level to a contemplative level, and even a psycho-emotional level, we become more familiar with the nature around us, the place that we're a part of and that we're from, but also we become more familiar with our own selves and our own nature. Maybe this idea of seasonal affective disorder or seasonal depression really speaks to you. And say, wow, now I understand exactly what's going on. Maybe you're not affected by that at all, but one of these other columns is really kind of speaking to you a little bit more. So these things happen cyclically every year. So the more that we're able to understand and learn about these different aspects of traditional medicine, the more we have a template for observation and for increasing understanding and insight. And through your appointments with your acupuncturist, you can kind of have these conversations year round as different things start to crop up at different points of the year. It's helpful to have a dialogue with your practitioner to be able to touch in about these ideas and have some sort of framework for understanding. Otherwise, it all seems kind of random and confusing, and adds to some degree of our suffering. So we want to decrease that suffering. We want to take care of ourselves and our communities. And the best place to do that that I can offer is in community acupuncture. So come in and visit us, and we can kind of talk about some of these ideas before we give you a treatment and tune you up for the season. Good to see you all. I hope to see you at Kunde Institute. Bye-bye.